What's up everyone? Long time no see. A lot of things happened the last time I recorded a video. As you can see, I moved to a new flat and I had to buy a new shelf for the new whiskies. That's right. So today I have big news for you. First of all, I want to tell you that so far I've tasted over 200 different whiskies. To be precise, it's 207. And this here, this wonderful Port Charlotte, is the 200th whiskey that I tasted so far, and I would like to review this for you today. And also, I've listened to your feedback. So far I've recorded 13 videos and I got a lot of responses and useful inputs from your side. And I just want to look back a bit, talk about this a bit, and do a video where I do another summary for you. Why? It's simple. So this channel is called Whiskey Amateur Class. And the main and most important purpose of this channel is to give guidance for complete beginners. Now I understand that some of my videos were very long and very detailed, and sometimes I lost some of you. Yes, I get this. And most of the time I was, talking about some facts or some very detailed niche nuances that are not necessarily useful for you. And yeah, certain videos, it's a lot of time. So today what I'm planning to do is to record a video where I give you some simplified guidance that can help you to start your journey in the world of whiskeys, and I won't go into any details. So a short video with simple guidance, okay? So today I'm structuring the video into 3 parts. First of all, I'm going to talk about how you should select a bottle of whiskey. The second is once you bought a whiskey, how you should approach it. And finally, I will give you some takeaways, I will draw some conclusions. Exactly. So, simple guidance. Here I will talk about 5 different topics. The first and most important is price, because price is probably the most important factor when you buy whiskey, right? So you have a budget. You have a specific amount of money that you are willing to spend, and if a whiskey is it's more expensive than that, then you won't buy it, irrespectively of the type of the whiskey and so on. So I'm going to talk about the price, about the different types of whiskey, also about 2 interesting things. One is coloring, and the other one is the alcohol percentage in the whiskey, and finally I'm going to talk about taste and what is right for you. Okay, so price, I will keep this short. I have a benchmark. This is subjective, this is just my experience, but roughly I can tell you that a whiskey below 30 euros, it's not gonna be good. So the chance that you find a good whiskey is really, really limited. Everything above 30 euro is, let's put it this way, good, or you can find something that is really interesting. And let me tell you here a comparison or an analogy with wine. So you know that you can buy wine already for 2 euros, right? But you can also buy wine for 5 euros or 10 euros or whatever. And this is also how you have to think about whiskey, that if you buy the cheapest one, if you buy the most widely available whiskey, what do you expect, right? It won't be good. If we assume that also a 2 euro wine is not good, right? So you have to be willing to pay a bit more, and you don't have to spend too much money. So for 30-40 euros, you can get already very good single malts. I'm also going to give you some recommendations here. Second, the types. So here we have many big categories, but just to put it very simply for you, the first and probably the most highly regarded type is the Scottish single malt. And once you see single malt on the label, that's already a good indication that that whiskey is going to be probably good one. Again, I'm talking really in a simplified way, but search for this, because the other big type is the blended whiskey. And blend, as the name implies, means that it has been blended from many different types of whiskeys. And the single malt means that it's from one single distillery. And it tends to be more, it tends to have more character, a more complex flavor profile, and so on. It's also, usually it's going to be a bit more expensive, but it's absolutely worth the money. So the cheap stuff is usually our blends, so the stuff that you can find in your supermarkets, and single malts tend to be above that. And then this is Scotland. This is also true for Ireland. So in Ireland, you can also find very nice single malts or blends. And then if you go to the US, then you will find there the bourbons. So bourbon is a completely different type of whiskey. Also in bourbons, I think it's a good rule to look something that is above 30 euros. Color. There is a misconception about whiskey. People who have no clue about whiskey tend to think that if a whiskey is darker, then it's going to be better, or it's going to have more flavors. This is wrong, because in Scotland and also in Ireland, the law enables distillers to color their whiskey. And unfortunately, many distilleries and many distillers use additional coloring. So be assured that cheap blend that it's 3 years old and you can buy it in every bar, it's that dark because they put color in it and not because of the oak casks, okay? So this is just something to keep in mind, that you don't have to go for the dark colors because it won't imply anything about the flavors. I've already tasted whiskeys that were super light in color and they were incredibly complex and just beautiful. ABV. Many people assume that it has the whiskey is always bottled with 40% ABV. Wrong. Actually, what you are looking for is a higher ABV. For example, 46% or above that. Before bottling, a distiller can decide whether he or she wants to dilute the whiskey, and many distillers dilute it back to the minimum, to 40% ABV, because in order to be called whiskey, it has to contain at least 40% ABV, so alcohol in the whiskey. So this is why most of the people go back, dilute it back to 40, because then simply you have just more bottles, more whiskey, more profit, right? Yes, and the final thing is that tasting notes or label. Most of the time you can just look at the label and already get all of this information, and this is what you have to do. So you go into the shop, you check the price, okay, you check the type, you will find it on the label. Some whiskeys even have tasting notes on the label, and then you can read it. Is this something that I would like, or is this something that I wouldn't like? So always look on the label and try to find tasting notes. You can also Google it, or there are some apps. And yeah, this is a 5-step process how you can dig into whiskey, or you can pick whiskey without having any knowledge. So I hope this guidance is useful for you. Now, once you bought a whiskey, we can move on to the next step, namely how you should approach it. So first of all, you will need the right glass. And here you can see this is a Glencairn glass. So you won't need this very specific glass, but the shape and form, so the construction should be very similar to this if you don't have this very exact one. Yeah, so first, when you look at the shape and form of this glass, you observe first of all that the bottom part of the glass is very thick. And this is important because you can hold the whiskey from this point and you won't warm up the content in it. This is the first function. The second one, that you see that the lower part of the glass is wider. It's like a wine glass. This is important because you need some volume in order that the spirit gets some air and it can oxidize a bit. And then you observe that the top side of the glass gets narrow, and this is important because it will concentrate the aromas to your nose. So look, when I want to nose it, it's straight channeled to my nose. And this is what you need, because if you have a tumbler, the problem with the tumbler is that first of all, you won't be able to smell it properly because the flavors, the aromas will just escape. And while holding it, you can also warm up the liquid, and you don't want to do that. So this is why a glass like this is probably the most optimal in order to taste whiskey. And yeah. Second point, you pour out the whiskey and you have to let it sit for a couple of minutes. This is a very concentrated spirit. It has a high alcohol volume and it needs to start oxidizing. It needs some air, it needs some breathing. So you put it down and you let it patiently open up. You cannot rush whiskey. If you open it, you pour it right away, everything will be just closed. And first you want to let the whiskey sit and open it up nicely. Third, you can also add water to it. And you definitely shouldn't add ice to it. I mean, of course you can if you like it that way. But the problem is that when you put ice to it, the ice cools down the whiskey to a low temperature, and those nice aromas and flavors that you are searching for and are in the whiskey will be just muted, will flatten out. You don't want to do that. But if you add some water to it like I'm doing right now, what you do is that you dilute it back a bit and you make the flavors more approachable. You know, that structure, that flavor structure or alcohol structure loosens up a bit, and it will be more palatable, it will be more accessible. So yeah, don't put the whiskey into the fridge. That doesn't make any sense. Don't put ice in it. It doesn't make any sense. You can play with some water, and you have to be patient and let it sit. And this is when you can truly access and explore a whiskey. So this is how you taste the whiskey, approach the whiskey, that you have the right glass, you pour it out, you are patient, then you start to nose it, you start to appreciate the whiskey, and then you take a sip, and you also focus on the finish. Right, so let me do a flash review with this very nice Port Charlotte. So this is a smoky whiskey from the island of Islay, Scotland. And it has been matured in ex-bourbon casks, and then it got a finish in Mouton Rotschild red wine casks. So these are red wines. This is a red wine from Bordeaux, a premium red wine. So first of all, I nose it, and it's just incredibly rich. It's full, it's oily, it's thick, it has wonderful berry notes from the wine cask, but it also has some dried fruits like apricots or apples. There's also a very nice vanilla creaminess, and only on the second layer there is some barbecue smoke, and it's just very nicely integrated. Obviously, this is it's a bit also a little bit sharp because it's a cask strength whiskey, which means that it has been bottled with 59.2% alcohol, which is a lot. This is why I also added water, because it will make the whole experience just a bit more approachable. And now I taste it. Again, very rich, oily, thick. Everything that I smelled on the nose comes through. This is, by the way, a good sign. It means that it is a quality whiskey. The finish is very long. It's layered. So first I get some fruitiness, some creaminess, and then lastly comes the smoke, and that lingers around. So this is very nice. And you see here I have like 2 centiliters, and I can sit like half an hour or even an hour and just enjoy it, take a small sips, read the label, enter the website, see what the head distiller wrote about the whiskey, and just really enjoy it. And I like this whiskey. Whether I would recommend it for you, I don't know. The thing is that taste is subjective. Okay, so what I like, you might not like it. So you have to be really, you have to take this into consideration And this is why also when you go into to a store and you want to pick up a bottle, you don't know what you like. So this is why you experiment. This is why you try several whiskeys and you try to work on your taste. See what you like, what works for you best. So remember, taste is subjective. There are opinions. You will also have one. But I promise you, and just to give you some, core range whiskeys that I truly like and are very affordable in the price range that I told you. So there is, for example, the Glencadam 10 years old, the Arran 10-year-old, also the Bunnahabhain 12-year-old. It's a very nice sherried whiskey. But I could also tell you, for example, the Auchentoshan triple wood or 3 wood, but not the 12-year-old or the American oak one, but really the 3 wood. Also Glenallachie 12-year-old is an excellent whiskey. Deanston 12. So all of these whiskies are from Scotland. They are not smoky. I think they're very affordable, very good standard malts. So if you see any of these, I think you cannot go wrong with them. Explore it, try it, what works for you best. And yeah, you will soon have much more idea about whiskeys. And now coming to some conclusions. So what you truly have to understand when it comes to whiskey is that it's all about aromas and flavors and how you can explore them. Okay, this is why you buy this specific glass, and this is why you taste it how I just showed you. You smell it, you taste it, you take small sips, you appreciate it. It's a really an art, a piece of art actually, and it's really about enjoyment. Laying back, taking some sips. It's like a treat for yourself. And this is why also the price is very high, because it's a super complex product. It is matured for many long years, and there can be just so many different types of whiskeys, and you really want to appreciate this wide range of whiskeys and the flavors and so on. So if you just want to drink, if you just want to get drunk, you shouldn't buy expensive whiskey. You should buy vodka or any other spirits that will hit you, and that's it. Okay? So yeah, these are my views. These are my opinions. I hope this guidance helps you. I hope you find this simplified guidance good. And yeah, I say with my 200s whiskey, take care. I wish you good health, Slanja, and I will see you in the next video. Take care. Bye-bye.